Welcome back to the Scaredy Cat Guide, my friends. My name is Jenny, and today we are talking about the Haunted Mansion in Disney's Magic Kingdom. So this is one of the few rides in Walt Disney World that is intentionally spooky and scary. It has a really interesting history and one that resulted in it having a really mixed tone. So part of this ride is really silly and fun and family friendly, and the other half is like a serious haunted house. But don't worry, we are gonna talk about it all. If you're new here, this is the channel where we talk about Disney and anxiety, we talk about sensory issues, and really anything that you might wanna know if you're an anxious rider at Disney World. Like me. Without further ado, let's dive into those details. This spooky attraction contains darkness, scary theming, loud noises, and animatronics. On top of that, it also contains some backwards motion, mild spinning, jerky movements, and of course, a very morbid subject matter. So let's start off by talking about the sensory issues. Now, overall, I would call the Haunted Mansion a very overstimulating ride. Of course, as a haunted house, it is very dark. In addition, it has some very loud sound design. I would put this on par with a lot of other dark rides in the parks. But of course, the scary theming kind of pushes it over the edge to me and makes it all that more overstimulating. Now, aside from that overall loud sound design, you also will come across some sudden flashes and loud noises. In fact, there are actually a couple of jump scares. So let's talk about that spooky theming. Now, of course, as you may have guessed, this ride is just spooky by nature. It's a haunted house. There will be ghosts and ghoulies and other creepy entities. So of course, you will find some scary theming, and this is intentional. I know we've covered some rides in the past that aren't intentionally scary. Well, this one's intentionally spooky. It is supposed to scare you. So if you are not about that, that is not your cup of tea, this might be one to skip. Now, as I just mentioned, there are actually a couple of jump scares on this ride. Now, lucky for you, they are condensed into one part of the ride. They are in the Grim Grinning Ghosts number towards the end of the attraction. And they aren't just absolutely terrifying. They kind of look like a spooky, creepy Halloween mask kind of face jumping up from behind a rock or a gravestone. But as somebody who generally likes spooky things and I like horror movies and that sort of thing, these jump scares actually startled me so much I almost dropped my camera. Now that might just be me, but if you really don't like those startling moments, you don't like jump scares, you ought to know that they're at least coming. Now, taking on a more serious note, you will also find some morbid themes on this attraction. Of course, as you are invited to join the 999 happy haunts, there is definitely the theme of the end of life. And if you or someone in your party is sensitive to that sort of theming, it might be something to consider. Now, this is possibly a very small thing, but I just wanted to mention it. It's something that I feel passionate about, but there is a sort of trigger warning that I will mention on this attraction. If you would like to skip ahead, you can go to this timestamp right here. But again, I just wanted to mention this for you guys. Now, in the pre-show, there is a moment when the ghost host is welcoming you to the mansion, and he challenges you to find a way out of this windowless, doorless room. And right after he says this, you can look up and you will see the ceiling kind of disappear as you can see someone who has taken a very morbid way out. Now, for me, this is something that I really wish Disney would give a little more warning about, because this is honestly a very real tragic thing that people do encounter and that people have trauma with. And that might not be you, and this might not bother you at all, but I feel like this is a serious enough subject matter that warrants a little bit of a trigger warning. But that's just my opinion. Now, before we move on from this scene, I have to mention the claustrophobic element in this pre-show. I wouldn't say that the Haunted Mansion is a very claustrophobic ride overall. There are a lot of things that make it not so claustrophobic, at least for me. But in the pre-show, as I mentioned before, the ghost host does call attention to the fact that you are in a room with no windows and no doors. Now, a lot like other closed off pre-show rooms, of course, there is a way out. Cast members have their eye on you at all times, and you are not in this room for very long at all. The only reason I mention it is because the ride calls attention to it. Claustrophobia is a real fear that a lot of people have, like myself. And of course, the Haunted Mansion is gonna play on that because this ride is all about fear and spookiness and scariness. So just know that this part of the attraction is there. You definitely can feel a little claustrophobic in this pre-show section, so just be prepared for that. Now let's move on to animatronics. Like many of its other older attraction cousins across the parks, you will find a ton of animatronics on this ride. In fact, there are 109 animatronics, and not only that, they are the older models. So think Pirates of the Caribbean or Spaceship Earth. You for sure might come across some animatronics that are kind of creepy and shifty and in that uncanny valley just by being older. These of course are prone to malfunctions like many of the other older animatronics across the park, and what makes them all the creepier is that they are intentionally spooky. So of course, because they have that already spooky theming on top of the uncanny valley, they can be a lot for some people. So let's talk about that backwards motion. Now, even though it is not for a very long time, you will find yourself going backwards for about 20 seconds towards the end of this ride. I also want to mention that when you go backwards, it feels like you're at a very steep angle. So, you know, there are other attractions, of course, like Journey at the Little Mermaid or Spaceship Earth, where you do go backwards at an incline, but it is nothing like this. You really feel that backwards motion in this attraction, partly because the ride can be a little jerky, and partly because the angle is just pretty steep. But just know that it will last for only 20 seconds and you will spin back around to be facing forward. Now on that note, you will come across a little bit of mild spinning on this attraction, and if you remember from Journey of the Little Mermaid, this isn't really spinning at all. It really is just your ride vehicle rotating to face the show scenes and pointing in whichever direction the Imagineers wanted you to look at. Now even though this is maybe not real deal spinning, I would be remiss if I did not mention that this ride is very jerky. Of course, this just comes with age, like many other attractions in the park, but if you really don't like that jerky movement, this ride can just feel a little intense with the slight spinning and the jerky movements and the backwards motion. It really is maybe just a little bit more intense than your classic smooth basic Omnimover attraction. Now I'm not saying that this ride has any thrill elements. It is certainly not a roller coaster. It doesn't have any drops or anything like that, but because of the ride's age, it can just maybe feel a little jarring compared to some similar rides in the park. Now let's talk about those ride vehicles. These little beauties are called Doom Buggies. They are classic and they're really a lot like the clamshells that you will find in Journey of the Little Mermaid. Now these are individual cars that seat around 2 to 3 riders each. And when it comes to restraints, you will have a shared lap bar. And as I mentioned before, this is an Omnimover attraction. Now this just means that the cars are constantly moving, and when you board the ride vehicle, you will hop onto a moving belt and board the ride vehicle from there. This can feel maybe a little bit disorienting, kind of like getting on an escalator, and even though it might take you a second to kind of get your sea legs, it's not too difficult to get into these rides, and of course there are accessibility options available as well. So let's talk about the ride time. This attraction is about 7 minutes and 30 seconds long. That puts it on the longer side for Walt Disney World attractions, although it's not super long. It's not particularly short either. On top of that, we do have that pre-show segment that I mentioned before, although that is fairly short as well. And one more thing I'll mention is that this ride is very fast loading, like many other Omnimover attractions in the park. So even though this older attraction may have some frequent breakdowns, for the most part you will get moving and in and out of this attraction very quickly. And now that you have all the facts, let's actually go hop in line. It doesn't look like it's too long of a wait today, around 25 minutes. We'll see if that's accurate, but let's hop in line. You'll find the entrance to this attraction in Liberty Square and make your way under the sign and very quickly under a nice green awning. Now you will be underneath this for most of the queue, and it very nicely provides some shade from the sun, which is fantastic for very hot days. You'll wind back and forth through this area, you will go along the water. It really is a beautiful area to be waiting in. Now as you get closer to the indoor section, you will come across a graveyard with some very cool interactive elements. Every time I've gone through this line, I never have enough time to really look at this section, so you will be moving through pretty quickly. Like I said, it's a very fast loading attraction, but it's still cool to see these interactive elements even if you aren't there for long. Now after passing through this area, you will come across a cast member who will ask how many are in your party and send you on your way to queue up behind these large doors. You will see some more of this graveyard right here and even a blinking headstone, which is kind of cool. And before you know it, another cast member will open these doors and and welcome you into the mansion. Now from here, you will walk inside and very quickly make your way into the pre-show room. Now this pre-show is arguably one of the more intense parts of the ride, as I mentioned before, with that trigger warning. There also is a claustrophobic element here that is not in any other part of the ride, so definitely be prepared for that. But you will make your way into this small room. The ghost host will greet you, welcome you to the mansion, tease you a little bit before sending you on your way towards the loading platform. Now from here, you will be able to see the Doom Buggy, so like many other attractions in the park, you can really get a good view of what the ride vehicles look like and decide whether or not you really want to ride. Now, as always, if you decide not to, you can of course talk to a cast member before you board, and they will direct you where you need to go if you decide not to ride. Again, there is no shame in this. If you decide you're not ready for an attraction, it is no big deal, and the attraction will always be waiting for you later if you decide to ride. Now, upon boarding these Doom Buggies, the lap bar will lower down and you will proceed into the dark candlelit mansion. Now, the theming for this ride is immaculate, and even though it is a spooky, scary ride that often gives me, honestly, a lot of anxiety, I still absolutely love it. I love the spooky theming, the vibes. It's such a wonderful ride, and if you're someone who really likes special effects and Halloween and that sort of thing, it really is a very cool experience. So as you set off, you will make your way very slowly through these spooky haunted house type scenes. It's worth noting here that the first half of the ride is decidedly more spooky and more scary than the rest of it. The second half has a more cartoonish, family-friendly vibe to it, but this first half is genuinely spooky. You'll hear haunted house sound effects coming at you from every angle. You'll pass by several scenes and animatronics of spooky things happening in the mansion. You'll pass the newly added Hatbox Ghost. This was my first time seeing him, and it was so cool. And before you know it, you will come face to face with Madame Leota. She is one of my favorite characters in all of Disney World. You'll see her disembodied head floating in her crystal ball as she says an incantation, and you begin to enter the ghostly realm. After passing Madame Leota, you will find yourself at the Swinging Wake, and this is such a cool scene. You will see ghosts dancing and enjoying the party below you. Now, these are not super close to your ride vehicle, so rest assured that they're not too terribly spooky. To me, this is just a very cool scene more than anything. And before you know it, you will find yourself in the attic where you will find the Ghost Bride. Now, she is particularly spooky, in my opinion. I don't know why, I find her to be very scary with her character design and everything. I mean, I love her, she's very cool, but definitely scary. After passing through the attic and saying hi to the Ghost Bride, you will rotate backwards and descend at a very steep angle into the graveyard scene. Now, this is where the ride takes a more fun, family-friendly turn. There's lively music in the background, the ghosts are really kind of cartoonish and humorous at this part of the ride, but this is also where you will find those jump scares. Now, I only counted 2 of these, but like I said, they startled me both times. And again, it really looks kind of like a Halloween mask, something like that. Nothing too overtly terrifying, but the fact that it pops up at you is not so fun for some people. Now, you'll make your way through this area, passing the graveyard keeper and his puppy as the grim grinning ghost welcome you to their soiree. After exiting this segment, the ghost host will welcome you back, where you'll see the hitchhiking ghost and even spin around to face a mirror where you will find a ghost in your Doom Buggy with you. This is a very cool effect, but I could definitely see where this would be alarming to some people, so I definitely wanted to mention it. And here you'll find the end of the ride. You will come up to the unloading station. The cast member will direct you off the ride, and you will be on your way out of the Haunted Mansion. And there you have it. What do you think about the Haunted Mansion? Honestly, I forget how scary this ride is every time that I get on. I'm always just a little bit surprised at how spooky it is. And even though I have ridden it dozens and dozens of times, it still gives me goosebumps. It still startles me just like it did today. And if you are someone who does not do spooky, who does not do scary, I would definitely take a second to think about this one. As always, if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more, please don't forget to subscribe, like, stick around, stay a while. We would love to have you in our little community of anxious riders. I adore making these videos for you guys. It is so much fun, and I love getting to talk with y'all and enjoy this little community that we're building together. So leave me a comment, ask me any questions that you might have, and we'll chat. So I hope y'all enjoyed, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. See you in the next one.